Yo guys, Gluten-Free EDC here. I'm Brian, your gluten-sensitive representative. Today I've got a custom handmade knife all the way from Germany. This is from RS Knives, the RS standing for Raphael Stach, the maker. Apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, man. But really cool. My buddy loaned this one to me. Shout out to Knife Ninja EDC. Check him out on Instagram. Super cool dude. Really phenomenal knife here. So like I said, fully handmade. All this inlay going on, handmade. This one in particular is fully DLC coated with Zerk inlays, as well as Zerk collars here, and a Zerk backspacer. We're going to get to that in just a bit. Let's open her up. So right off the bat, fairly light detent you're going to see on this knife. A bit lighter than what you would typically see. This is an inset lock, meaning that the lock arm or lock bar is a separate piece of metal from the frame itself, or potentially a liner if there's a liner, which there's no liner here. So you've got the frames and you've got the lock bar. Awesome disengagement on this thing. A lot of access to it. So you could see here that it's proud of this scale. It's proud of this scale even, ever so slightly. Not quite as much. So deeper cutout here, and you can easily fit your thumb in there and push it over. No jimping at all. There's really no need for it. It's that easy to move it over. I think that light lock bar pressure helps there, though that is why the detent feels so light when opening it. So not as snappy or poppy, but yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I'd like to see a stronger detent typically, so that's my bias. I like a lighter detent in general, but stronger than what this guy's got. Onto the blade. You've got a pretty cool drop point type blade. It's straight here and then the curve starts, so almost reminiscent of a Tonto blade shape, but really I would call this a drop point. The sharpening choil is beyond the plunge grind, perfect, so I imagine there's going to be a lot of life to this blade. Really cool. Just a beautiful blade overall. DLC coated. So before we finish out the blade, so it did have that harpoon blade shape right here where your thumb is going to rest, and then you kind of dig into that if you want. Perfect. I think that it works. What I also want to show though is this jimping. Like, this is some of the coolest jimping I've seen on a knife. So let's see if I could get that into focus. Yeah, really cool stuff that we're looking at here. Again, this is all by hand, so they're fairly soft. There's enough grip there though, like it's good, but yeah, like they're not 90 degrees, so it's not the sharpest thing in the world. But the fact that it's got the line down the middle actually does, I'm sure, add some grip. And aesthetically, it's very pleasing. I really like the look of that. That's just cool. Like the fact that he put the line down the middle. Like it does it for me. Again, these collars, they're in Zerk, really cool. So kind of like concentric circles, really just the one carved in. So there's a collar, and then it's carved in the middle, so you have like the inside and outside walls. I really like that. These inlays are not too crazy, like nothing crazy going on here. Just straight lines, right? And then this is straight, right? So just rectangular prism kind of. You have it rounded off on this side, rounded off on this side. Pretty cool. The jimping will sit proud, so you are going to feel that when you're using it. And pretty simple to use it up here. He's worked this out pretty nice to fit your finger in there. It is sharp, but I find that when you're holding this one, it's unlikely that you're going to cut yourself. Just, you'd have to be careful. of course, like anything else. Action's pretty good. This one is a bit off center. However, I think, that's one of the things that you risk with a fully handmade knife, but doesn't impact the action. It's not rubbing on anything. Seems great. The clip, awesome clip on it. I've not put this one in pocket. Again, it's not my knife, but clip looks pretty good. I think what's unique about it is it's got a bit of a cutout right here and a cutout here, which means that would be a little easier to bend up and away. It is zirconium, so I don't want to bend it too hard, because in the past I've seen Zirc, once it bends out, it kind of stays there. There's not as much, I'm forgetting the word, but yeah, it'll bend out and then you got to bend it back. So I'm not willing to bend it too far. I don't want to make it clicky or something. But that brings us, this clip wraps around, it's inlaid into the inlay. That was a stupid way of saying that. But there's the frame. You have the inlay. Then the clip is nested within the inlay. The back spacer on the other side is also nested into the frame on the opposite side of the inlay. So you've got these two things going on here. The clip makes a third thing. It's just really cool. It's seamless. You could see, I'm sorry, I was out of screen. You could see it for sure, but it's pretty smooth to the feel. With your nail, you could, I could barely feel it. Maybe that second one, but not much else. So pretty wild. And then you see the same going on this side. Can I feel it a little more on this one? Again, it's handmade, so whatever little minor differences there are pretty cool to see. So yeah, I really like this back spacer though. It's unique. It's small, right? It's not obtrusive. You're not seeing it really. When you look at it this way, you almost don't think there is a back spacer. You could see it there, obviously, but this angle doesn't look like there's a back spacer. There's the internal body screw there, and then this back spacer, and it's just cool how it's cut out. I think looks neat how it's so small, and I believe the back spacer incorporates that body screw. Let me see. So you can see it kind of goes over that, so it fits it into it. Fits that spacer, or barrel spacer if you want to call it that, kind of fits that into there. Just cool. I like seeing that, the attention to detail there on, I think, kind of making this as minimalistic as possible. The only screws that you see is the pivot. It's dual-sided, which is awesome in my opinion. You don't want a free spinning pivot. If you do, tool it on both ends. So that's what he went ahead and did. And yeah, so that's awesome. It's a really great sized knife overall. I believe this is about 3 inches, but I'm gonna get a measurement. I actually did remember a ruler for once. It's hard to see, I know. So yeah, we've got 3 inches, just about, maybe a hair over 3 inches. Cutting edge is probably closer to 2 3/4 inch, a hair over that. Again, all DLC coated, so it's going to be a fingerprint magnet, but that's what you get with DLC. Some size comparison. So I thought a good comparison would be a 520, because the lines on this, it's so perfect. It just reminds me of the 520, just how, I don't want to say how geometrical it is. That sounds stupid. But the shape to this, with these straight lines, yet curves all around, it just reminds me of the 520 in that regard. They're chasing that same kind of minimalistic, modern vibe, if you will. So I think that's a really cool comparison to see those two next to each other. Like, just these lines around here, kind of with that one. Yes, they're obviously different, but pretty neat. I also like the choil on this one, that it's not just like a standard, like, meh, like, gap in. It's deep here, shallow here. I just like that. And then another comparison, for those of you that subscribe to the channel, you will see a video on this one. There's already a video on the 520. This is a Thierry Savidan. Really special knife. If you want to know more about that one, I've got a video that I will post up at some point. I don't know. But suffice to say, I'm in love with this knife. But yeah, quick size comparison for y'all. Oh, and an overall length, just a hair longer than 7 inches. Also, this is the Onyx model. I forgot to mention that. He's got a handful of models on his Instagram. Check him out. He does like so many of these different inlays. It's really cool how he's kind of done this knife, and the fact he's doing it all by hand is super impressive. The lock mechanism, perfect. So really cool knife. Really glad that I got to share this one with you guys. Hope you've enjoyed. It's been real. Take care, guys.